10. And as provost, I am the academic head of the colleges, and I'm faculty in environmental studies, and I hold the Pepper Guyberson Chair of Environmental Studies. And it's a pleasure to be with you tonight. And I'll go ahead and ask other folks to introduce themselves. So Sarah.
Hello and welcome all. I'm seeing that there's still a few folks joining us, but welcome. We're so glad to have you here. My name is Sarah Woodside-Bury. I'm the Senior Director of College Student Life at College 9 and College 10. I use she, her, and hers pronouns, and I get to work with all of the student life side of the college. So everything, I like to say, everything outside of the classroom, for the most part, falls under my purview. I get to work with students who live on campus, but also students who are our affiliates who live off campus. Everything from their leadership and their achievements and their success to, whether it's conduct or challenges that they might be facing. I get to deal with the whole spectrum and the whole student, I like to say, all of the facets outside of the classroom. So I'm still seeing that we have folks joining us. So we'll continue our introductions, but we may just repeat a little of this too as folks are still logging in. But Lenora, do you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. My dogs are sounding right now, so I apologize if you can hear them. But my name is Lenora Willis. I use she and they pronouns, and I am the Associate Director for College Student Life for College 9 and College 10. So I do a lot of the same stuff that Sarah does, but directly I supervise our housing team and our programs and activities teams here on campus.
Great, welcome folks. I'm seeing that there's still a few others still joining us and logging in. We're so thrilled to see so many of you logged in this evening. This is wonderful. Thank you all for being with us. So maybe we should just wait one more minute and then we might reintroduce ourselves and get started. So we'll be using the chat feature this evening. So if you have questions, you might want to get your chat box open and ready, because we'll be using that primarily to get questions answered throughout the evening. So again, welcome if you're just joining us. I'm glad you're here. We're going to get started in just another minute as folks are still logging in.
I was the only loser with a picture like that. Good God.
Did you sign in as Ingrid or Riley? Like for your name?
It signed in as Riley Ross.
So the name was also Riley?
Hi again, welcome folks. If you're just joining us, we're going to get started in just another minute. If you haven't done so already, you might want to mute yourself. And we're going to be using the chat feature for gathering questions. Just so you're aware, you can get your chat box open. Again, welcome everyone. We're just trying to get everyone into the room.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and reintroduce myself. My name is Flora Lee, and my pronouns are she and hers. And I'm the provost of College 9 and College 10. And I get this question a lot of what is a provost? And the provost is the academic head of the college. And the provost was typically a faculty member, and my department is environmental studies. So I'm an ecological anthropologist by training, and I currently hold the Pepper Guyberson Chair in environmental studies. And I've been at UCSC since 2008. So the provost works closely with the senior director of college student life. And I have the pleasure of working closely with my co-leader of the colleges, Sarah Woodside-Bury.
Hello, everyone, and welcome again. We're so glad to see so many of you. I don't think we were expecting quite so many, but we're thrilled that you've all logged in. My name is Sarah Woodside-Burry. I use she, her, hers pronouns. I'm the Senior Director for College Student Life here at Colleges 9 and 10, which means I oversee everything sort of outside of the classroom. So as Flora described, between the two of us, we co-lead the colleges, and everything that your students would engage with, both inside and outside of the classroom, really falls under our purview. And I get to work with an amazing student life team who help to support students both who are living on campus and off campus, who are our affiliates, in everything from their leadership and their success to their conduct and even some of their challenges that they may face. We're here to support all of the above and the entirety of the student. So speaking of those amazing staff, I'd love to turn it over to Lenora to introduce herself.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lenora Willis. I use she and they pronouns, and I'm the Associate Director for College Student Life for College 9 and College 10. And so I do a lot of the same stuff that Sarah does. The only difference is I supervise our housing staff and our programs teams directly. And so, yeah, if you have any questions in either of those areas, I'll be sure to answer them to the best of my ability.
Great, and I'm loving that folks are already using the chat feature, which is how we're going to be taking questions today. So thank you, this is perfect so that we can start right away. This is our goal for this evening, is to try and answer as many questions as we can. As you can see, we are recording this session. We will post it on our website in a few days, along with any of the resources that we may share or suggest. We have another fantastic staff member who's here this evening, Gustavo. Thank you, Gustavo. He'll be helping to support us by adding some resources into the chat if we refer to them, but we will also get those posted on our website as well. So don't worry if you don't save the chat or don't write down that website, we'll make sure to get that all posted. So that'll be on our families page at both College 9 and College 10. So thank you for already populating our chat box with a bunch of questions. I can see that there are a ton of move-in and housing related questions that have already started to populate. And Lenora, before you launch in, I also got a private message about housing assignments and when they can expect those. So maybe if you could start there and then talk a little bit about some of the early questions that just came in around move-in, et cetera. Does that sound good?
Yeah, absolutely. So housing assignments are available for viewing on the housing portal as of yesterday, and students will be receiving an email tomorrow on how to navigate that page and where to find those assignments. Roommate information should also be available in the housing portal. In the same place that you apply, you'll be able to see your assignment and your roommates. The only reason you would not see a roommate is if you are in a single occupancy room, or if your roommate selected to not release their information. And that is an option on the housing application. There's like a little checkbox where students have the opportunity to not release their information. And so a little bit more about assignments. So we have been assigning students from the priority groups, and that was completed about 2 to 3 weeks ago. And then from there, we moved on to our rising sophomores. And then any first year students who may have applied beyond their designated deadline. And so then those students, we've been working on getting those assignments. But as you can imagine, and something that we shared earlier in some of our family gatherings, is that our applications far exceed our spaces. And so fortunately, at Colleges 9 and 10, we had so many applications that we've had to reach out to other communities to help us in accommodating those students and making those housing assignments. Housing coordinators are still making those assignments to this day. It's been an ongoing process. And so if you do not see an assignment currently in your housing portal, but you are a part of the priority groups that were dictated earlier on in late spring quarter, and if you are not a rising sophomore or second year student, then it's coming. Like I said, the housing coordinators are working on it. If you are not in either of those groups, the messaging that we've been communicating with our students is it might be really important to start securing an off-campus housing location at this time. And just because, like I was saying earlier, our applications far exceed our numbers to the point that we're already reaching out to other communities on campus to house our students. And we honestly will not be able to accommodate everyone that's on our wait list currently. Speaking more about move-in, so move-in for first-year students will be on the 16th and 17th of September. The 16th of September is Yom Kippur, and so in observation of the high holiday, we have to have also move-in opportunities for students on both of those days, and so we're going to be doing some opportunities for programming on the 17th, which is that Friday. And then there will be for transfer students is Saturday, the 18th. And then for continuing students, and so second year and above, so sophomores, juniors, and seniors can move in starting on Sunday, Sunday, the 19th of September. Some of the other activities that we have going on throughout the week are open to all students, and it's definitely in our minds to make sure that a lot of our programming doesn't start until either late Friday or continues throughout Saturday and Sunday, so that all of our affiliates, regardless of where you're living on campus or if you're off campus, can participate in time for any before classes, congregations, or celebrations.
Thank you, Lenora. You got to a lot of different questions. Let's see, there's a lot of questions about like a map of the spaces, where are the spaces, what's included in some of the rooms. And so where I would love to direct you is to our websites as well as to our housing website. So housing.ucsc.edu is one website that we often refer students to. There's virtual tours of all of the colleges and all the spaces, so folks can get a sense of what the spaces look like, as well as there are, you can even use Google Maps. It's a great resource. It now has all the colleges and the buildings listed correctly, so you can use that if you're interested in locating where they might be. And then on the housing website, as well as our college websites, there is a list under our residential life section. There's lists as well as on the housing website on what to bring, what not to bring, those kinds of things in terms of if you're asking about kind of what would fit. And then there is information about, I know there was a question about renting mini fridges and microwaves. There is a whole process for that. That's also on our housing website. So I know Gustavo can help to get those posted onto the chat, and as he's done already. Thank you. So those are definitely some of the other questions that I saw that were related to housing. And it will also describe like laundry rooms and where those are, but there are laundry facilities in each of our residential areas that are open to the students of those areas. So those are a couple of other questions that I saw that are related to housing. Are there a few others, Lenora, that you want to try to tackle?
Yes. So I'm sorry, I'm just scrolling through and I want to make sure that I am being concise. Okay, so the dining hall is relatively close, particularly college 9 and 10. The dining hall is centrally located. And so like Sarah was saying, if you're looking at Google Maps, the housing office is located at 702 College 9 Road. If you need a different address besides 1156 High Street. And you see pretty well on that map how the College 9 rest halls are right there off of the College 9 Road. And then the dining hall is actually what is separating College 9 from College 10. And so if you just cross the street and then go beyond the dining hall, the College 10 rest halls are right there. A little bit further up the bend are our apartments in ILC. And so those are a little bit of a walk, but those are also apartments. And so those have kitchens. Very few of our residents in the apartments communities opt for a meal plan because they don't have to if they don't want to. And a lot of them like to take advantage of their kitchens. And yes, it is possible to change from the 5-day meal plan to the 7-day meal plan. That information is available on Dining's website, which you can get to from the housing page. So if you're already on the housing page and looking through to see what meal plan options, there should be a number of links to direct you to Dining. And then there was another question about locale. Oh, so the floors in the buildings, not all of them are co-ed. Certain buildings have single gender F identified floors, and those are available in, I can probably look it up, in building 1 and building 3, so Hague and Geneva, and then in buildings 4 and 6, so that's Ohlone and Angela Davis. And those are specific floors in those communities that are single gender F identified students. Every other floor is considered co-ed, or what we like to call gender non-binary, are the bathrooms in all of our communities. And so I also saw a question about move-in dates and appointments. And so students will be sent an email on August 27th asking to pick a time slot, and there'll be more than enough time slots on both days to split the communities evenly. And so, like I said, for students who are celebrating Yom Kippur, who may not be able to travel on the 16th, have equal opportunity to select their time slot on the 17th.
And allotment for transfer students, is it done?
You're talking about housing assignments?
Yes, housing assignments, thank you.
Yeah, so the transfer community is under our Porter Kresge and Redwood Grove affiliation space. And so like where you're looking at campus, on that college campus is where our transfer community is, and that's where majority of our transfer students will be staying. And so any students beyond that community that could be housed in that building would have gotten allocated to what we call our satellite locations for the transfer community, and they're located at Collin Stevenson. And so I know the ones that are at Porter Kresge, they're still working on those assignments, and the ones at Collin Stevenson, they're finished. And so if you've already been assigned, it's probably to Collin Stevenson, and you'll see your assignment show up a little bit later on this week.
Thank you, Lenora. And I'm seeing a bunch of questions about move-in and how move-in day will work. And although Lenora has alluded to some of this, I'll start, Lenora, just to give you a chance to catch your breath here. But there are a bunch of detailed questions about move-in day. But essentially, as Lenora said, they'll be sent an email where they get to choose their time that works for you and your family and other folks that might be helping your student move in. And so that your student will want to pay attention to that email so that they can sign up for the time. And then there was a question about sort of how move-in day will work, and will there be parking passes and meals and all of those things. So I want to talk, and will there be dollies? Thank you for that most recent question. So essentially the way that it works is you'll be directed to our campus East remote parking lot, and all of this will be in big lengthy emails, and it'll be on our websites as well. So don't worry if you forget kind of the flow of things, but essentially you'll be invited to come to campus at that time that you've signed up for. You'll come straight to the East remote parking lot, where there'll be a team of our staff there waiting for you to greet you, or the vehicle or the whatever you're getting to campus with. We've had folks arrive via Uber and buses and all sorts of things. So however our students are arriving, welcome our students to the East Remote. At the East Remote, they get checked in. So we check their ID and do all sorts of things to make sure they are who they are. They get their key packet there that has all of the keys for their space that they're moving into. It has, whatever materials that they need for the day. It also has directions on where they're going to be headed next. And they'll be then instructed, once they're checked in there, they'll be instructed to go up to the college when there's a parking space available. We have very limited footprints at our colleges, so we try to make it as smooth as possible so that you go from the East Remote up to one of our buildings where your student is moving into to ensure that it's an easy unload. You're going to park in parking lots that are right near our buildings. There are dollies and people waiting for you, and all sorts of staff around to help to support, to guide you to where you're headed or where your student is headed. And then your student will be able to move in. So there won't be a need for parking passes or things like that. And then the food that day will be provided by our dining hall. So some dining halls around campus, as well as potentially some of our affiliated restaurants will be open that day. Whatever we know, obviously all of that will be imparted to you and your student upon arrival in terms of where you can find food that day. So hopefully that answers some of what move-in day might look like. I don't know if there were other questions that came in related to move-in that you saw, Lenora, that you want to continue to address, or if there's any details I've missed.
I think the only thing that I would add is if we have continuing students who are here and looking to bring their cars to campus, you can sign up for your parking pass ahead of time with TAPS. There's a certain cutoff to when you can have your parking pass mailed to your home, but then you can also pick it up on whatever business day. We will have parking lots reserved for traffic control, and then there will be, the regular parking on campus. But if you know for sure, like you're a continuing student and you are bringing your car, you can get your parking pass now, or like prepay and pre-order for it now. And that way you have it for that day.
And then the other thing I don't think I addressed was sort of the COVID protocols for that day and kind of what that looks like in terms of, will family members be able to be in the buildings and testing and all of that. So Lenora, do you want to address a little bit of that? I know some of it, but I want to make sure that I give accurate information.
Yeah, so that is an email that will actually be coming out in a couple of hours. It was just approved around 5 o'clock today, and so it'll probably come out tomorrow morning. But basically you're asking that all students and families make sure that they are tested prior to their arrival to campus, at least within 72 hours of their anticipated move-in date, and keep a record of that negative test result. If you do test positive, please refrain from joining us with on-campus move-in, and make sure you're coordinating with your housing coordinator to let them know what your situation is, so that we can make sure that your bed space is reserved. And then once you do arrive to campus, you will need to go through our, like Sarah was saying, our traffic pattern and to get everyone up to East Remote. But something that is in the works, and so I feel the need to share here, is we need all of our students to finish their vaccination information on the Healthy Messenger prior to September 9th. And that is because any students who do not complete that step prior to that date, they will be redirected out of traffic to go to another location to complete that process. And so it's just super imperative that it is done before move-in day, so that it does not hold up your progress to getting your key, presuming your appointment and, moving throughout the day. And then after that, once you've moved in and gotten everything, we do have mandatory testing. It is once a week for students currently. That is probably going to change depending on the, progress of this virus. And mandatory once a week testing will begin on the following, I want to say Tuesday. So if students are moving in the 16th and 17th, the first opportunity for a test would be that following Tuesday for on campus. And you can do it, you can schedule them ahead of time. Certain locations on campus do take walk-in appointments, but as long as you get that first test in within your 5 days of arrival to campus, is super important. And so 3 days before you get here, try and get a test. Make sure all of your vaccination stuff is submitted, whether you're waiving or taking it, or you're in progress, whatever your situation might be. All of that is available in a Healthy Messenger for you to complete. And then 5 days after your intended move-in date is when you'll be expected to test again.
Yeah, great response. Thank you, Lenore. And there's been lots of further questions around all of this. And I would say that please ask your student to read these emails in entirety. And yes, all of this will be sent in an email. There'll be links to our websites with any updated information. So this is what we know of as of today. And as we know in this situation of the pandemic, things have changed and needed to change or adjust based on numbers or based on the circumstances of the virus. So I would say be on the lookout, ask your student. And from this point on, just so that you know, communication is only coming to your student. And so your student needs to be regularly checking their UCSC email account. And if you're wanting to know and find out more information that your student is getting, you can talk to them about what emails they're getting and how they can share that with you so that you're also aware and prepared. So all of that will be forthcoming. And a lot of this is also on our student health website. Our health center is the one who's managing a lot of these protocols. And so I would direct your student and yourselves to go ahead and check out the health center website, which I know Gustavo can post in our chat as well for you. So, and then there are testing sites in Santa Cruz all over, but then there's going to be some testing sites on campus, the ones that Lenora is talking about in terms of testing when they arrive and after their arrival, et cetera. Those will all be on campus for that. I'm gonna change course here a little bit and talk a little bit about some of the other questions that have come in around, other spaces. So there was a question around music practice space, because amplified instruments are not allowed in the residence halls or not allowed to be played in the residence halls. So where can they, do amplified music? But also like, where do students who are living off campus, where can they go on campus? So I'm just gonna talk broadly about some of our spaces on our campus. And again, things have looked really different for our campus due to COVID in the last year. And so we're anticipating and hoping for all of our spaces to be open and accessible to students. They were not last year. So a lot of our buildings were completely closed to the public. So our hope and goal, and I know that the campus has been busy this summer working on all of our resumption planning to ensure that spaces, have occupancy numbers and healthy air recirculation and all of those good things to ensure, some COVID safe practices. So there are music practice spaces. They're all run through our theater and music departments, and students can easily go online and request times. And that's usually, again, run through the music center. And again, some of those things may look a little different. The accessibility of those spaces may look a little different because of COVID. And then in terms of other spaces on campus, luckily or not luckily, we just don't experience a lot of rain, and our campus is a wide public 2,000-acre campus that has lots of accessible open spaces. I know that a lot of our students who commute often, find locations on campus. There's tons of, benches and picnic tables in shady spots or sunny spots where folks might want to be. A lot of our Wi-Fi services reach to the outdoors, so I find a lot of our students out at our picnic tables eating their lunch in between classes, logging into whatever they need to, or doing homework or what have you. And then we also have a lot of lounge spaces around our campus, a lot of open lounge spaces that are accessible to students, whether they live on campus or off campus. So again, depending on what the COVID protocols will exactly look like when we come back, those spaces, they'll have either open hours or folks will, they'll be able to sort of access those spaces accordingly. So yeah, a lot of folks are interested in now how students can get involved too, and how will the answers to these questions be shared as well. I'm seeing that question. So I'll just say that again, this session is being recorded. It'll be posted to our website, so you're welcome to go back and listen in. And then all of the websites and resources that we're linking here will also be on our website. And I posted those earlier. It's our family's websites on College 9 and College 10. And then in terms of how students can sign up for sports or for other leadership opportunities, there's a number of different ways in which we at the college, and there's been a lot of questions also about Welcome Week and all of those activities. So I'll start and then punt it back to Lenora. But a lot of ways in which students can get involved. And in fact, we really encourage that. And we know, research tells us as well as experience, that students are more successful academically similarly, the more involved they are even outside of the classroom. So the more invested and involved that they get in their college experience overall, both inside and outside the classroom, it's proven that they are more successful and able to graduate. So we really want to encourage students to get involved right away. And so there's lots of ways in which we do that. We start with Welcome Week activities right away on those move-in days. And then throughout the week leading up to classes starting on that Thursday. And so we will be doing activities and events that start to engage students and get them involved and tell them how it is that they can sign up for different clubs and organizations. One of those that I'll highlight is the cornucopia. And that cornucopia is actually going to be on 2 days to ensure, again, COVID safe practices, but also to help to support particularly our sophomore students and some of our students. I know there was a question earlier about transfer students and some of those folks that are even going into their senior year that have never been on campus because they were transfer students last year. And so there's a focus with the cornucopia to reach out to those students in particular on the Monday night after move-in. So that Monday will be the time when we'll be doing that cornucopia. That's when all the club sports and all the different recreation opportunities, as well as all these different clubs and organizations, leadership opportunities that I talked about. So that'll be Monday, September 20th. And then on Tuesday, the 21st, it'll be the same kind of experience, but for our first year student population. So those are some ways in which we'll be engaging with our students and getting them hopefully involved and invested in their entirety of their experience. Other things you want to mention about Welcome Week or other questions that I didn't get to, Lenora, related to Welcome Week that you're seeing?
I think it's just, important that all of our campus partners have been extremely cognizant of, our second year students really not getting the on-campus experience. And so a lot of our programming for Welcome Week is already open to all affiliates. And so we just urge you to continue to, push your student to get out there. We know it can be kind of fun to acclimate in your own way right before classes start. But we're making sure that we're getting a lot of resources right there in front. And so, yeah, encourage your students to get out there as much as possible, especially like cornucopia, like Sarah was saying, is awesome opportunity to not just see what's going on at the colleges, but just across the university overall.
And I just wanted to add as well that there's so many resource people available for students, and that includes the college advisors. So we have a team of 4 wonderful advisors plus a lead preceptor that oversees the college's 9 and 10 advising team. And so students, before they're declared their major, they work with a college advisor, not only to get guidance about enrolling for classes, declaring a major, but also for these extracurricular and co-curricular activities. So we see the college advisor as the person that sees a student throughout their journey at UC Santa Cruz. And of course, when students declare a major, they also get a departmental advisor or a major advisor. So the college advisors and the departmental advisors work really closely to support students. And one thing that I really encourage for our students is to talk with the advisors about different opportunities, opportunities to get involved, opportunities to perhaps work with faculty on research projects, or there are some questions about study abroad. The advisors can help direct students with that as well. So they're really a clearinghouse of information, because I think what happens is that students feel pretty overwhelmed, in the first few days. There's a lot of stuff coming at them. And so we encourage students to go talk with their college advisors. And I think one of the best practices is to make it, time to drop in or to make a scheduled appointment to talk with their college advisors, perhaps once a quarter, right? To just let them know how you're doing and get some tips on time management. You can learn about activities, and our advising team also plans and implements activities and workshops for students as well to help them to promote academic success. And we have a wonderful team of peer advisors. So sometimes it's easier to talk with a peer about their academic journeys and other aspects of life at UCSC.
Great, thank you, Flora, for adding that important detail. There's definitely some questions about parents or families being included in move-in and welcome week activities, et cetera. And at this point, we're going to be doing more sessions like this. So for families and parents and support people of our students. So we'll be offering this as well during welcome week. We haven't yet determined all the dates and times because we're waiting for some other key events to get scheduled, but we will make sure that that information gets sent out and is publicized on our website and our calendars. So if you're interested in joining for any of the family sessions. And then in terms of who's going to be allowed in the buildings during move-in day and all of that, Lenora has somewhat addressed already. But again, that could change given the circumstances in Santa Cruz County. We have to abide by both the state regulations as it comes to the state health department, as well as our county regulations, as well as the University of California system has its own policies. Hence the vaccine requirement, for example, came from the UC system. So we have to abide by all of those, as well as Cal OSHA, because we are a workplace. We're not only an educational institution, we are a work site. So we need to abide by all of those policies, and as well as the CDC and World Health Organization, et cetera, that also lends advice to universities for how it is that we are to proceed with COVID mitigation practices. So all of this is to say a lot of the move-in information and kind of that, what we can and cannot do related to COVID will be forthcoming to your student in those very important emails that Lenora has been alluding to, some of which are coming as soon as this week, others of which will come closer to move-in day. So please make sure that your student reads those and pays attention to those so that they can participate accordingly, and that you can participate accordingly. And then typically,
they're also on the website. And so every time the student gets an email concerning move-in, that information is updated on the move-in website, with the exception of the appointments time slot, because the website is for all the university. And so we don't want to confuse students with a whole bunch of links. And so your student will get the link for their community that they're moving into individually. And so the appointments link is the only thing that will not be available on the move-in website.
And then I just was going to say, in terms of continuing engagement with all of you as family members, support people, guardians of our students, please check out our families pages on both College 9 and College 10, where not only will have the links to these kinds of videos and information and resources, but we also often host what we call like a family day at some point. And this past year we did that in February as it coincided with our annual practical activism conference. So we may do something like that again, or we may have the ability to invite you onto campus. It's just really going to depend on the pandemic and the situation that we find ourselves in. So for continued engagement with us, there's lots of ways to do that, and please earmark those families pages. I'm seeing Lenora is responding to some of the questions via chat as well. And at this point, yeah, in terms of where the communication goes, we really start to communicate only with your student. We consider them, those are the ones that are getting all of our communication. They're the ones that are responsible for their academic as well as their, billing and enrollment, et cetera. So we really are communicating directly with your students. So I just would encourage you too, this summer is a great time to, engage with your student around conversations of how you want to get this information. Do you want them to be forwarding these emails to you? Do you want to know about billing? What does that look like, and how are you going to deal with finances together, et cetera? So really using this summertime, the next few weeks, kind of talking about how you'd like to have communication if your student is coming to the campus to move in. What kind of regular communication are you expecting from them is really helpful, just so that once they arrive and even leading up to that, you have a clear sense of how it is that you all are going to manage that together. Okay, I'm seeing still some questions related to housing and how those are placed. Is it first come, first serve, off-campus options? Lenore, do you want to address some of those in terms of how housing assignments are made a little bit, and then any off-campus options?
Yeah, sure. So housing assignments were made in a couple of different layers, and so I can walk through that process. So we do have certain communities, such as the iFloor or Roomies Field, and so those communities for our frosh were assigned first because those were an application based. So the students, filled out supplemental questions. We had a significant number. We made them their offers, and then we assigned them. And it's the same thing for the ILC. And so if you are continuing students living in the apartments, you had an option to apply for the ILC, and those assignments went first. And then from there, we went through based off of room type preference. And so if a student requested a single, or if they requested a double or a triple, we don't have any doubles. I don't know why I said double, a single or a triple. And then what are your other preferences? So for instance, we might have a student who would like to only live on a single gender floor. And so we only have a few of those. And so once that student pops up, we try and place them in the available space based off of their room preference. And the system does that randomly, like when, as the names pop up, the system does that randomly. And so for, like I was saying, for our continuing students that were priority, the second priority wave for our sophomore, second year students, we just had more applicants than spaces. And so in order to assign the rest of those folks, our housing coordinator is reaching out to other communities and making offers to those students via email to let them know, hey, I no longer have access to your specific room preference because they applied to College 9 or College 10, but I can offer you this alternative room preference, which is really close to what you requested. And like I said, our housing coordinators still are working through that process as of this morning, because at the same time of making those assignments, they're still handling late applications of anyone who is in one of those priority groups. And so our DRC students, our transfer students, our first year students all have to be assigned simultaneously. And so as you can imagine, it's been a very interesting process as, like I said, we navigate our mass applications. I am so fortunate that people really love Colleges 9 and College 10 and really want to live with us. And I wish we had, more buildings and more space, but we had a really large first year class, and we had to do those assignments first before we were able to move on to our continuing students. There was a second question, Sarah, I missed it, and it's gone, it's escaped me.
It looks like there's just some questions about like a student not having an assigned room, but an email saying they are assigned to Colleges 9 and 10. And sort of the off-campus piece, like if students are needing to find off-campus.
Yeah, so if you're receiving a notification that the assignment has been confirmed, but you're not seeing anything in the housing portal, please contact us at 9 Housing 10 because that might be a glitch that we need to fix on our end. And it just might be a specific case that we need to pull up your information, and I can have the housing coordinator do that tomorrow. And then for off campus, thank you for reminding me, Sarah, for off campus, our community rental site, which is run through our central housing services. So they're the ones who are over the housing at ucsc.edu, emails that you may have seen or received. And so the community rentals page is basically a workshop. So we have a renters workshop where students can work with our staff to just identify what are your needs, what questions should you ask, what are you looking for as you navigate through the off-campus process. And then there's also on the community rentals page a list of property management companies that we've had a number of students and staff really work with to secure housing in the local Santa Cruz area. And there are also some on that list that are not in Santa Cruz. They're a little bit further out in the San Jose area. And that's depending on, how comfortable you are with a 20-mile commute. might be a little bit more preferable for our students, again, depending on how you're comfortable with that commute. And so, yeah, the community rentals page is really to just help guide students and families through how to start that process, and particularly with our continuing students, because, you know, in a year that was not this year, this wild year, we would have housing guarantees for students for 2 years. And then that would mean by the time you get to your 3rd year or your 4th year, if you're not a part of an other group that, you know, would extend your housing guarantee, you'd be, you know, navigating this process. And so, like I said, our students and our staff who've been working with our juniors and seniors on community rentals have really, really amped up that page to help our 2nd year students navigate that as well.
Lenora or Sarah, can you talk about insurance and then also what the situation is over winter break for international students?
Yeah, thank you. I was just going to get to the rental insurance question. And yes, rental insurance is offered through the UC system, right, Lenora? And they should be getting information about that through their student UCSC email. Is that correct?
It was actually in your housing application. It was like the 2nd to last page before you confirm your application. It's not required, but it's recommended for anyone seeking, you know, an outside property. But sometimes, depending on your current insurance provider, you might already have that coverage, and you might just need to give them a call to see if your current house insurance or home insurance can include renter's insurance for a student.
And then there are a couple different questions about international students in terms of arrival, but also during winter break and all of that. So we do, our buildings do technically close for winter break, although they're open during our fall break period, they're open during our spring break period. Winter break is the only time that we actually do close our facilities. However, we have what we call a holiday hostel, or an opportunity for students to live locally so they can stay all throughout the winter break. So both international students and any student that needs to or would like to stay over the winter break, there's a process for how to do that. And that'll all be forthcoming to the student in the fall. And then in terms of some of the other international student questions, I'm of course just lost that chat where that question was. My apologies, I can come back to it when I find it. But I know that there were some questions also about security. And so I just want to briefly move to that, unless there's anything more about winter break, Lenora, that I'm forgetting. Okay. So I'll move to the theme of security, and then we can come back to more international student related questions. But the question was about, you know, the safety of the campus and kind of how students can, if they need help walking at night through the campus, et cetera. So I did explain earlier that we are a 2,000-acre campus. A lot of it is public, you know, outdoor spaces. But fortunately, you know, we have a really, you know, relatively safe community. And you can find all of the crime statistics, et cetera, if you're interested in any of that through our UCSC police website. They keep updated crime statistics on that website, but they also have all of the tons of safety features that our campus employs on a regular basis. So first of all, we have these amazing staff members, community safety officers, and our community safety officers are assigned to each of the colleges where they are here. Their hours are 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. and their main job is to support the community safety officer. And so they help to provide, you know, even students who get locked out of their rooms, they help to get them back in their rooms. They also help to escort students, like you were talking, or there was a question about, you know, how can I get my student from point A to point B? And if in the evening they're coming from the library and they just want someone to walk with them, they have the ability to utilize our community safety officer program. There's also ambassadors that work with our, not only our community safety program, but also our UC police department who are around, and they also have a vehicle that they drive around. They're student ambassadors, and they help to drive students around campus at night if they're needed. And then we benefit from We have our own fire department on campus, and that's right here and operates from right here. So, and they're all EMT certified folks. So often they're the first ones on scene if there's ever a safety issue or concern. Our firefighters are there to help to support, as well as I mentioned, we do have our own UCSC Police Department. And then in addition, we have all of these amazing staff that Lenora keeps alluding to, that live and work here on our campus. So each of our floors and each of our buildings, we have what are called resident assistants. Those RAs are fellow students. They live on the floors and in the buildings with your students, and they help to support the students, our students' safety, but also their well-being, their emotional and physical well-being, but also just there to be resources. So all these things that we keep throwing out there, all these different resources on campus, the RAs are there to help guide them. We also have orientation leaders who are volunteer positions, who are peers as well, who come and help. They're actually called college guides. My apologies, they're called college guides, but they act as a leader through orientation, but also to orient our students to our campus and guide them through their first quarter. And they're really engaged with your students, and they help to get your students involved, but also to help them know that there are lots of folks here to help to support them in whatever safety issue or concern or any need that they might have. And then we also have professional staff, full-time coordinators for residential education, who are professional staff, many of whom have master's degrees. And we have an assistant director of residential education as well. Also really trained and well-versed in student development and support. And they're all trained as immediate first responders in any incident. We're all on call so that we can support any incidents that happen day or night, weekends, anytime in between. So those are some of our great staff that are here to support you or to support your student. I know there was are there other safety things that I'm forgetting, Flora or Lenora, that you want to mention? Okay. Oh, Lenora.
I just want to add that due to COVID, the nightly safety bus program, like the one that Sarah's describing, is on pause. And so if students feel unsafe, they can still call UCPD dispatch, and dispatch will assist them. But I was going to add the link and just wanted to say that the program that Sarah was just talking about, not the community safety one, but the what did you say? The walking assistants or
ambassadors or whatever.
And thank you. That program is on pause.
Thank you. Thanks for reiterating that. So there were some questions before that were about internet and Wi-Fi and all of that. So I know I had alluded to that before, but all of our residence halls and our apartments and all of our academic buildings and lounge spaces, et cetera, are all Wi-Fi capability. And like I said, much of that bleeds out into the quads and into the public spaces, picnic areas, et cetera. They all need to log in through a secure system. And so our ITS department is as well versed in all of that. So if your students have particular questions, I would direct them to ITS and our ResNet program. ResNet means residential network, but also IT supports all of the security and internet and Wi-Fi capabilities for the campus. So that's where I would direct folks there. So perhaps Gustavo can add that link as well. I know there've been a bunch of questions that have come in while I've been talking. So are there other themes, Lenora or Flora, that you've seen while I get caught up?
There is a question about how families can be with their students during Welcome Week if there's time for them to do so. Let's see.
Yeah, great question. And even when it's not a year when we're faced with a pandemic, we actually encourage family members to use move-in day as also your goodbye day. You're bidding farewell, you're supporting, and then bidding your adieu. And the reason for that is that we really want students to get to know their community that's now going to become their home for the year. And as well as getting to know all these resources, they're coming to a new place, they need to be informed about how they can access all these resources. And so we found that really having students be able to focus in and start to get to know the folks that they're going to be living with and all these important resources that we just named, that we find it's better to have less distractions than more. And so we really ask that family members, plan on coming to, if you want to, and you're able to come and bring your student to campus on their move-in day, and then to use that day to say your goodbyes. So you'll have plenty of time that day to help get them settled in. But again, because of COVID mitigation last year, no one else was allowed in the building. And we may be at that situation again. It depends on the tier that we're in Santa Cruz County, and it depends on all of those regulations and policies that I named earlier. So at this point, we really ask that you think about helping your student get settled that day, and then letting them be so that they can start to focus on getting settled in, participating in Welcome Week, and focusing on the things that they need to. They only have 4 short days before classes start. So they need to be able to get themselves settled, as well as familiar with where they're going to be headed for classes, etc. Anything to add there?
No, I just wanted to pick up on the question about when students can start applying to get more involved with the colleges, perhaps as RAs, as college guides, sort of what that looks like in terms of timing.
Yeah, great. So that's we start inundating them right away. So that's why I say to family members and support folks like yourselves, you're doing it by being here this evening and by helping to support them, and hopefully encouraging them to read those emails and to get involved with us right away, because we inundate them right away. That first day that they move in, they're going to start to get to know all of that. They're going to meet their college guides, they're going to meet their RAs, they're going to start to have community meetings, and start to involve themselves during Welcome Week, when they'll learn about all of these different opportunities. And the signups will be pretty clear there in terms of how it is that they sign up, and what they can do to take advantage of all of those opportunities. Starts right away on those first few days that they're here. And then throughout fall quarter is really a time when we do a lot of different orienting types of events, right? Really trying to, we don't want to totally overwhelm them, although we do, give them a ton of information at the beginning. We really try to look at the whole quarter of fall and think about all the different ways in which we can start to engage students and to start to, encourage them to get signed up for different opportunities, or to get to know some of those opportunities. And then all of those like volunteer positions and all of those paid positions, we actually start recruiting those, sometimes even in the fall. Sometimes we have openings for some positions. So definitely have your student check out our career website. So that all through our student employment center, they do all in our career center. They have lots of different listings for student positions right away. So if your student is looking for a job, a paid position or volunteered position, I would say definitely take a look at our career center website. So and thank you, Gustavo already listed some of our jobs too. So colleges 9 and 10, we also have tons of paid positions. Some of those get recruited for starting in the fall, some of them in the winter, and then some in the spring. So all of that will be forthcoming, and then encourage your students to check out those websites so that they can get to know those different paid and unpaid opportunities. Yeah, great. And then following our Instagram, thank you, Lenora, just put that in the chat, but I'll just name that that's another great way. We've really been using a lot more social media the last few years. We have a very active Instagram page. And like we keep saying, have your student check their email, because things still do come through email, but our Instagram page is a great place for students to follow so that they can hear about. We post all sorts of positions that are opening at our colleges, as well as at our resource centers. centers and some of the other places on campus. So we really try to advertise those far and wide, and that's a great place to encourage your student to check out. And those are all linked to our college websites as well. Okay, I'm just looking at some of the other themes. Oh, in terms of what the process is to be able to do those jobs. So that's why I mentioned the Career Center website. Gustavo already posted that page, but that walks students through what they need to do in terms of an application and what they need to do to be able to start that process. So that is there. I'm recognizing that we're close to the end. Are there other questions, Flora, that you've seen come in while we've been talking?
Here's a question about billing and getting tuition and housing payments and the timing of that.
Great question. So Lenora, you can help fill me in here if I'm out of sorts here, but I know that the billing process has a particular timeline. Students, again, will be emailed. It's also on our housing calendar, right, where it talks about the different bills and when they're due, and that's on our housing page, so we can get that posted as well, and that all comes directly to the student, and our student our student billing services does all of that processing, both of all of our registration and enrollment fees as well as housing. The housing page will obviously tell you when those things are due, but also our registrar's office helps to ensure that students are on time with their bills. So that all comes through there. And then I just found finally that question about international students. My apologies for kind of going all over the place, but there were some questions about move-in for EAP or exchange students. And then kind of health insurance related to EAP students. So international students, EAP students, the health center website is where I would direct them, because there are very specific processes for health insurance for international students. So please check out our health center's website around insurance, and actually for all students, not only international students or EAP exchange students, but also US students need to check out the health center website to get more information about the insurance. But in terms of the move-in date for inbound exchange students, Lenora, I don't know if you mentioned that one before.
Yeah, I don't remember if I said it, but for our students moving into the ILC, which houses almost all of our international students at colleges 9 and 10, your move-in dates would be the same dates as our first-year students, so September 16th and 17th. And then I do not believe that housing charges have posted yet. I was just on the registrar's website to see if I could see the next time that charges would be assessed. And I haven't found it yet, but if I find it, I'll try to include it.
Great, thank you. And for folks that have just been joining, just so you know, this whole session's been recorded. We'll post it on our families' websites. We'll make sure to get those families' websites posted again at the very end of the chat this evening, so that you can go back and find that information. And then we will post all of these various websites that we've listed throughout today. We'll make sure that all of these resources are linked again, so that you can find out all of this information. And then I also just want to address, which we haven't had a chance to breathe because we've been trying to get to all of your specific questions, but I just want to name that you and our students have gone through a tremendous amount in the last 18 months, including all of us. This is unprecedented. We keep saying that. I know the media keeps saying that, but it is an unprecedented time that we're living through. And I just want to name that, although some of this information that we've shared is less than ideal, or less than what we would ordinarily do, or what we would hope or strive to do, what has not changed for UC Santa Cruz is our deep commitment to all of our students. And that is unwavering. And even if we're short-staffed, and even if we have to do everything over Zoom, we have an incredible counseling department and mental health resources. We have incredible student life teams. We have great resources like our academic advisors that Flora talked about before. And all of our faculty members are here really to support you and your student, through this process. And so I just want to encourage that no matter how your students are participating with us, whether they're living off campus or on campus, whether they're still doing things remotely, virtually, or whether they're here in person. That I would just encourage you to where you feel comfortable. If there's any of us that can help to support you, to please reach out to us directly, and we can get you in touch with the right folks. So we'll make sure to post our email addresses in the chat as well. And you can find our email addresses also on our website. But if there are ways in which we can help to link you and connect you, or link your student and connect your student. We have a very active Discord group, for example. That's an online mechanism that we've engaged students with, in addition to the social media that we talked about before. But we know that you and your students are not alone. A lot of us feel overwhelmed and, kind of on our own, and, but we're here virtually, we're here in person. All of these staff that we've just mentioned to you are here to support you and your students in this transition. So just want to name to please encourage your students to reach out to us so that we can get them connected. And anyway, that goes for, sophomore students, to our first year students entering, to those transfer students that have never been onto campus and who are graduating this June. No matter how your student identifies, please send them our way. We want to try to get them the support that we can. So I'll make sure that we get our websites posted here again for you for the family information. And then thank you, Flora is already putting in our email addresses so that you can reach us directly. Here are these families' websites here. And then we'll get the rest of our emails populated as well. So I know we didn't get to everyone's questions today. And so we, like I said, we'll make sure that we go through, make sure that we address questions that we know we didn't get to. We'll post this recording on those families' websites that I've mentioned. And we'll post all of our different resource links that we've provided here in the chat for you today. We'll make sure all of those get posted on those families' websites as well. Any last comments or questions that you want to address, Lenora or Flora?
Just wanted to say thank you so much, everyone, for being with us. We will have more opportunities, obviously, in the future to be in contact with you. Well, this is, I know this is a very momentous time for you, for your families, and especially for your students. And we are here to facilitate and support you through this time. So thank you so much. And we will be, we'll be in touch, and be in touch with us too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a great evening.
Thank you all. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Salamat.
Gracias.
Thank you. Gracias a ustedes. Mahalo. Thank you.
Yes,
Oh, Shesha.
Just waiting for folks to log out.
Hi, Sarah. Can I ask a question? Quick question.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. So actually, we are part of College 9, College 10, and we got an email saying that we will be assigned a room. But we got an email. My student got an email saying that he was assigned to the Ox College, but he responded. We were actually coming back from San Francisco. Actually, we responded, but somehow it didn't go out from the outbox. So is there a way? And we missed the housing, and we tried to contact 9 housing 10, and I think you replied saying that you missed the 24-hour window. So is there a way we can, because he's the second year student, he hasn't been to campus. Is there a way we can you can help? It's a request, please. We don't have any preferences, triple or quad or anything is fine. We just need an accommodation, because he really need to be on the campus, because this is at least the he need to be like be in the campus and have that experience. Or last year we missed really badly because of COVID. So could you please help?
Like I was saying in the chat, if you could email 9 housing 10, our housing coordinator will work with you to the best of her ability. And yeah, just send me your student's name and we will try to work with you. We don't have any space at College 9 and College 10 currently.
No, actually we can be in any other place also. That's fine. Any triple or quad is fine. We don't have any preference at all.
Yeah, so it would just be really important if your student could email that email, and we will try to work
So
with them
just send it to
depending on what we
9
have.
housing 10 at UCSC though. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll ask my student to send it right now. So please help. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all were amazing. Lenora, Sarah, Gustavo. This is incredible. That was like, wow. Way to go.
Who are
That
those
was-
people in the weight room? Are we doing it again?